Hi everyone, Thao here. So this is the new Galaxy Tab S9, the smallest premium tablet in Samsung's lineup, unless of course you want to consider one of their fancy foldables. The upgrades this year include a new processor, larger speakers, an IP68 water and dust resistance rating, a first for mainstream tablets, and a display that's finally on par with the bigger sizes. Being relatively petite myself, I hit it off with the small size right away. I love using my tablets in bed, on the sofa, or just really anywhere I can get comfortable. After owning the Tab S8 Ultra for over a year now, I've realized it's just not a good fit for me since the larger size pretty much makes it a tabletop type of device. I used to think the Plus model was my favorite size because it's like the happy medium, right? But after spending a couple of weeks with the smallest Tab S9, I think this is the ideal size for me. For anything handheld, like gaming or just surfing the web, the smaller size plus weight makes a much bigger difference than I thought. Now, there are things I miss from the bigger size tablets, like, for example, multitasking, which is one of the Galaxy Tab's best features, can quickly feel cramped on this 11-inch screen. And if you opt for the bulk cover keyboard, you actually lose out on the top row of shortcut keys for things like brightness and volume controls. It really sucked losing those, but I guess they just couldn't fit it on here. Now, a lot of people buy these Galaxy tablets for the AMOLED displays, and thankfully, Samsung blessed the base Tab S9 with one, rather than sticking with the LCD like on the Tab S8 and Tab S7. This means you don't have to opt for the Plus or Ultra this time around to get what many consider to be a much better looking display. There's really nothing wrong with LCD, but use this side by side with something like the Pixel tablet, and I think most would agree that content on the Tab S9 just flat out looks better, unless you're overly sensitive to the flicker that OLEDs tend to have. These displays have an adaptive 120Hz refresh rate, and while max brightness is the same, Samsung has improved the peak brightness across the board, making everything look even better. It gets nice and dim at night too, which is great for those late night binges without burning your eyes. Basically, if you like watching content, the screen quality on these tablets is the real deal. Now, Samsung is sticking with a 16:10 aspect ratio, and while I love how it frames content cutting down on the black bars at the top and bottom, for anything else, a taller aspect ratio like on iPads or Surface tablets would probably be my personal preference. The speakers are 20% larger, according to Samsung. The Tab S9 sounds really good, and it has no problem filling a medium-ish sized room. If you're used to consuming content on mainly your phone, this would be a great sound quality upgrade for music and movies. If you own a previous Galaxy Tab like the S7 or S8, sure, it's slightly louder and sounds a little better, but it's hardly groundbreaking. There's an optical fingerprint scanner embedded into the screen that's been great, but honestly, for how expensive these tablets are, I would have liked to see Samsung use the same ultrasonic scanners found on their flagship phones. There's also a 2D face unlock option that works surprisingly well. I don't even need to use the fingerprint scanner half the time because it recognizes my face so quickly. Bundled in the box, you get a color matching S Pen that magnetically docks to the back of the tablet for charging. You can also mount it to the top of the tablet for quick access, but it's just for quick access. It won't charge here. If writing and drawing is all you'll be doing with the S Pen, you technically don't even need to charge it at all. Charging allows you to use the Bluetooth remote functionality, which Samsung calls Air Action. I personally don't find it very practical, but I guess it could be handy for skipping slides on a PowerPoint presentation or for controlling music while chilling on the couch. I don't really draw, but I can say that the Galaxy Tabs and S Pens are a great option for note-taking. The S Pen itself isn't the most high-quality stylus on the market in terms of build, but because it uses EMR technology, you could opt for something more premium and ergonomic like this one from Lamy, which is my personal favorite for those longer writing sessions. GoodNotes, the popular iPad app, is also now available on Android, but it is subscription-based. You do get 1 full year of premium access with the Tab S9, but honestly, I don't really see the appeal, especially considering how solid the Samsung Notes app is. Plus, Samsung Notes is totally free, right? Over the past few years, I've used it exclusively for journaling and for, just taking notes during meetings. And yeah, it's been great for that. The optional book cover keyboard is still overpriced in my opinion, but they've got me hooked on this kickstand. Like, if they just sold the kickstand on its own, I'd be all over it. It's so awesome being able to remove the keyboard and just prop the tablet up anywhere I want at any angle I want. Going from the massive keyboard cover on the Tab S8 Ultra to this tiny one on the Tab S9 definitely took some time to get used to. It'll totally get the job done for writing emails or any sort of word processing, but it's crazy that this isn't backlit for what they're charging. It also isn't the most stable setup for use on your lap. Now, the trackpad has been a surprisingly decent experience, but the palm rejection is really hit or miss, which makes it a pain to use at times. Overall, it's a nice sleek package. I just wish it was a little cheaper. Really hard to recommend it at full price. A third-party Bluetooth keyboard will probably be a much better investment for most people. But man, this kickstand is so nice to have. The Tab S9 comes in two variants. I have the 12GB of RAM version. What's nice is that these tablets still support expandable storage, so you can pop in a micro SD card when you run out of space. Every Tab S9 is powered by the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 for Galaxy. In benchmarks, the performance jump over previous generations is actually pretty big. In everyday use, the difference isn't going to be that obvious, but if you really start pushing it for things like gaming or video editing, it's noticeable. In a demanding game like Genshin Impact, I found that it doesn't get as hot, and I've experienced way fewer dips in frame rates, with FPS hovering between 55 to 60 even after 30 minutes of gaming. If you want to edit videos, in LumaFusion, I was able to chop and edit a recent project for social media with no problem. Once again, less stutters and just an overall smoother experience. The Tab S9 rendered this 60-second 4K Instagram reel in just under 19 seconds. In comparison, the Tab S8 Ultra rendered it in 25 seconds, while the Tab S7 Plus rendered it in 49 seconds. In terms of battery, I've been getting around 7 to 8 hours of screen on time, which I'm honestly happy about. But anyways, here are some numbers to give you an idea of how much battery usage you can expect for different use cases. I'm very impressed by the standby battery drain. It's so efficient when not in use. This supports 45-watt fast charging, and it will take about an hour and a half to fully charge. Oh, and you don't get a charging brick in the box anymore, so be sure to pick one up if you need it. So the Samsung experience on tablets has really matured over the years, and if you haven't tried one recently, I think you'd be pleasantly surprised at how much they've improved. There's four main things I want to talk about when it comes to software. First, these Galaxy Tabs have DeX built right into them. DeX is basically a different mode that gives you a Windows PC-like experience when paired with a keyboard cover. It's likely not going to replace an actual laptop if you need specific programs only found on Windows or Mac OS. Remember, it's still Android at the end of the day, just with a different layout. Everything opens up in its own window. You can resize, move them around, minimize apps to the taskbar, just like you can on a proper computer. And that's gonna feel right at home for a lot of people. DeX is a big part of why these tablets are some of the best when it comes to multitasking. If you wanted to, you can even plug this into a monitor and have DeX launch on it, and now you've got a full-blown DeX-powered desk setup. It's not perfect, but for basic computing, this could totally replace an actual computer for a lot of people. Second, even if you don't care for DeX, the regular Android mode is still plenty capable for multitasking and gives you a more traditional, more touch-friendly tablet experience. You have the option to split up to 3 apps across the display and even save that app combination to your home screen, so you can quickly reopen that exact layout whenever you want. On top of that, you can also open several more apps in resizable pop-up windows that you can minimize into a floating icon or drag it off to the side. If I lost you, don't worry. I know it's a lot to take in all at once, but that's the thing. Samsung gives you a lot of flexibility, but at the same time, it can also be very overwhelming if you're not used to it. My parents, for example, would totally get frustrated and not use any of it. Now, do most people need to run 4+ apps at the same time? Likely not, especially on the Tab S9, but if you've got the Ultra and a massive screen to work with, why not let people take advantage of that, right? Third, Android tablets in general has a very poor reputation when it comes to tablets. A few years ago, I'd say, yeah, it's probably deserved, but things are slowly getting better. Apps like LumaFusion, Clip Studio Paint, and GoodNotes are all now on Android, and that's great news if you're trying to do more than just watch stuff on these tablets. Of course, the iPad is still king when it comes to pro-level apps, and as a content creator, it really is the better choice thanks to its massive library of creative-focused apps. But hey, progress is progress. Now, the reality is you're definitely going to run into some apps that don't have proper tablet layouts. To combat this, Samsung has built in settings that you can force apps to run in landscape. From there, they give you the option to keep the app in its native aspect ratio or stretch it across the entire screen. Not every app is going to look great stretched out, so it doesn't mean we don't need developers to update their apps. Personally, for apps that I know aren't optimized, I'll just open it in a pop-up window instead. These are all workarounds at the end of the day. If you're looking for a more refined, consistent, stable app experience, this will likely feel a little disappointing. And finally, the fourth point, because it's a Samsung tablet, it's going to integrate nicely with their phones. You've got Quick Share for sending files back and forth. Your pictures, notes, and even passwords can be synced between devices, and I personally love being able to respond to messages or take calls right from the tablet. If you've got a Windows PC, you can actually use the tablet as a second screen for your computer. It's wireless only, so there can be a slight delay depending on your Wi-Fi speeds. Definitely check out Super Display because you can actually use a wired connection with it. I think it's fair to say that Samsung is the king when it comes to premium Android tablets right now. But the question is, how many people are willing to spend upwards of $800 on an Android tablet or just a tablet in general? That's a lot of money, and that's gonna be a tough sell no matter how you slice it. You gotta give them credit though. Samsung has drastically improved the software experience on their tablets. I remember picking up the Tab S6 in 2019 and yikes. That experience was not very good. At this point, if you don't care at all about pro-level apps, it really is a reasonable iPad alternative now, especially if you pair it with a Samsung phone or just prefer Android. These tabs will also get 4 years of Android and 5 years of security updates, which is reassuring. There's obviously still work to do, but at the very least, I think we gotta thank Samsung for keeping these Android tablets relevant. As usual, thank you so much for watching. Until the next one, I'm out of here. Bye!